Another big winner on the day for Saturday came down in Oxford, but it
Yeah.
wasn't Ole Miss. It was Kentucky. If you listen to our last segment, we talked about how strong that Kentucky defense was. And we saw it against Georgia, and we hadn't seen other tests, but we saw it against Georgia. So are we buying or selling Kentucky right now after that win?
I think Kentucky is one of these teams that shows potential to upset teams in the SEC. Now, I don't think Kentucky is a top tier team in the SEC because they could beat Ole Miss. But the way that their defense puts pressure on teams, I think that they're a buy now team because you're going to see them play some games still that they could win. They're going to play Vanderbilt, and that's a winnable one. But when you look forward to Texas and Tennessee, do they have the potential to upset another playoff contender?
Yeah, and they have that potential, right? I mean, especially when we talk about playing Texas and what we saw for Texas, at least in the first half against Mississippi State, and we'll get to that later. But Kentucky showed us a lot. One of the things that you and I had talked about was wanting to see more on the offensive side, and they did a good job of that, like getting more passes to Barry and Brown, getting Dane Key involved. I think this is probably his second time being on national television this year, and if you tune in to them, you see he's a playmaker, right? He is Mr. Reliable, made some key plays in that game. And so that offense showed up just enough. And that defense was able to startle Jackson Dart and what was the top 5 offense in the country going into that game.
Yeah. And we said it from the offensive side. We're like, this Kentucky team, they just need to get their playmakers involved. Like, we want to see Dane Key, we want to see Barry and Brown. And this was the game that they were able to do that. So I think before, he was looking for this perfect window. He was trying to stay clean in the pocket, and he ended up targeting Dane Key more times than this game that he even had attempts in the South Carolina game. Yep. So he's starting to find his rhythm. My favorite thing was seeing him test the receivers. We saw the first Dane Key touchdown where he put the ball in a very tough spot and just let the guy make plays because they're good receivers. So you saw a couple across the middle where if they didn't get separation, he was still going to try to weave the ball in there for them. So if they can continue to do that offensively with the defense that they had and putting the pressure on Jackson Dart, the sky is the limit for these upcoming games.
Yeah, they definitely have a good opportunity to kind of make some runs here. Especially you got Vandy coming up, you got Florida coming up, and you got Auburn. Now you're thinking, those are two, we'll say 2 swing games. I think Florida should be a win, but three, we'll say 2 or 3 swing games. And now you got 4 or 5 wins potentially. But back to this game, like, this is a big deal for Kentucky. I'm sure everyone in Lexington knows that. Mark Stoops kind of gets that monkey off his back of beating certain ranked teams, and I think it's safe to say that Ole Miss should be ranked by the end of the season, so that should hold out to be a ranked win. And I'm buying their stock. I'm buying it in terms of that is a quality win. It solidifies, just to me, they're better than just a bowl team. And like you said, they have that upset ability. That defense is very impressive. And so, like, they were the first team to really slow down Jackson Dart from what we've seen.
Yeah, and after that first drive, I was kind of like, because what we were worried about was the safety play and then being able to throw across the middle, and they marched right down and did it. But then after that, they held them only 271 yards in the air, and they did it without their number 1 corner. Marcus Harrison was out for the day, and he hasn't let up a touchdown all year. And if they did that without him against someone like Jackson Dart, whatever you want to say about Ole Miss's resume up to this point, it's still a huge thing that they did in getting the pressure. Ole Miss, they love that play action passing. And if you look at the stats in this game and how they were trying to get that, they would run the play action, but the play was blown up because Kentucky just getting through the line too fast. So they're making teams, get off of their game plan. That's how they did against Georgia, how they did against Ole Miss here in this game. So I like it. Offensively, I got to ask, they got Gavin Wimsatt, that quarterback, the Rutgers transfer in to run the ball. Yeah. Do you think that's something that you could see them continuing to do and getting like a guy in there just to run? He didn't throw the ball at all.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's working, so I could see them continue to do that. I mean, obviously, it helped them towards the end of the game there, and maybe they'll expand his package and have a pass option. I feel like it could be kind of like a Tebow-esque situation where it's like run, and then he has a jump pass or some form of a like rollout type situation. But I feel like if UK is going to keep being in these gritty SEC games, whether it's against Georgia or Ole Miss, you got to pull out all the stops, especially if it's these type of situations where you're playing with nothing to lose.
Yeah, get creative.
Yeah. So buy or sell. If you're listening to this segment, like, let us know what you think. But I'm buying right now. This is a team that you might not want to play with that defense.